Welcome to the Get Your Act Together podcast. I am your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Jessica Armstrong, and I am excited to have this chat today. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm happy to be here.
So tell everyone a little bit about you and your business and what you do.
So I had started working in a real estate office, and I was doing transactional work. And for those who aren't sure what that is, it's basically providing real estate agents with taking over those tasks that they have to do when they have a client under contract. And for me, I really loved working with the real estate agents because these were powerful business people and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I was kind of stuck in this office job and really thought I could create something more quality for them and make more money for myself as well and be able to provide jobs for other women who need to work from home. So I started TC Created a couple years ago, and it's been going really well. I now have a team of 4 transaction coordinators. We are doing very well in Colorado because of the quality service that we provide them. And through this, I realized that I enjoy empowering my team as well as mentoring them. I myself have gone through a lot of healing and growth over my lifetime, my adulthood especially. So I decided to start my new business, Jessica Armstrong Co., which is a wellness business and mostly revolves around life coaching and providing courses and workshops that'll be able to help people get more in touch with themselves, their inner power, and their self-love, which will hopefully have them enjoy and build a beautiful life.
Well, that sounds wonderful. And that is a lot to get into. So I'm all excited about this because
Yeah.
we talk lots of my favorite topics here. Operations, like getting all the things done, making things run well. Like that is my life, I feel like lately. That's our business here. It was my nerd thing when I was on Wall Street. And then that whole thing about journey and like discovering yourself and like all of that kind of thing, I think is so amplified when we have a business.
Yes.
Because we go on such a journey of figuring out who we are and what we want to do and how we're going to be sane through all of it.
Yeah. That's it. That mindset sustainability is a big part of it.
Yeah. And I think that if you ever want to figure yourself out, start a business because you
Yeah.
kind of have to.
Absolutely. It's healing in its own right.
Yeah.
You have to really decide how you're going to handle situations that come to you all the time, and especially if you start from scratch. So it's quite incredible, and it's not easy, but it's definitely one of the best decisions I ever made. So
Tell me how you got to creating this team with TC Created. How did you get to that?
it's really important to have um, real estate agents that we work with who are really amazing be able to provide what they do best to buyers and sellers, as it's an emotional time for them. And so for us, giving them that quality service that we do so they can focus more on what they really need to, which is that relationship with the buyers and sellers, is important to me. And as well as it's important for me to focus on what brings me joy and what I do best, and also just be able to have time with my husband and go on vacation. And the idea of having a team was that so everyone on our team could also experience that as well. And there's always somebody available that was going to be able to, support them and be able to take their place. So in order to make this happen, I knew I was going to have a really good system. It would have to be a system that was going to be easily trainable and easy for somebody to take on and utilize as their own, and in a way that all of us are using the same system, which makes it easy for somebody to step in and help one of the TCs with their agents if they need to. So I had gotten this software program after going through a lot of different ones and talking to other independent TCs, what they were using. I had found one that was open to close and it really offers a lot. And I created um, email templates, task lists. I mean, it's been just a journey in itself, but I really feel like I got it down to a science. And when it got time to where I was so busy and I was working, because this was when I was still on my own, I was working so hard all the time. I was like, something's got to give because I'm starting to feel my burnout. And that to me was something maybe I might have not recognized earlier on in my life, but I knew it at that time. And I knew if I didn't make a change then and start working to get my team, it was going to have a big effect on me and my business. So I started advertising that I was hiring, and letting them know that it was a empowering working environment where you can be safe and have your own clients. And I got a lot of people who filled out my form, which was a lot of questions about kind of who they are as a person, how they work. And as long as they knew real estate, I knew that that would be great. But I really needed somebody who was going to be able to utilize the values that I had in my business as well. And I interviewed a lot of great people, and I found um, these four women who are just incredible. And it was really difficult, though, going through the training and then trying to transition from that to where I wasn't doing any transaction work anymore and they were, especially since I had these agents that I had really created relationships with myself. And now I'm, even though I wasn't going anywhere, I was kind of giving them a new
Mhm.
transaction coordinator. So that was definitely a learning process. And it was definitely having to keep in mind that I was doing something that was going to be a win-win for everyone. So that's really how I sold it to my agents. And it's really how it's worked out. Um, and they've really been able to take it on. And it was nice to see that my system that I put together was so transferable that they've been able to utilize it and enjoy how easy it is to incorporate when they're doing the work with their agents. So,
Tell me, because I feel like this comes up a lot. How how did you get things off your plate? Was it hard for you, like mindset wise? Was it hard for you to bring people in and let them touch your stuff, or are you one of those unicorn people that's like, no, 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 here you go?
I wanted to run my business differently where I was really respecting and empowering and listening to my team members. Um, that being said, with the training, you know, some of the things that would come up for me would be like if maybe something wasn't working for them or they didn't like the way something was set up, it's like I'd take it personally, like, oh no, like what have I done? And how could they not like what I've made? But then I'd have to tell myself, hey, we're a team. I want to hear their input because I ultimately want this to work for them. And maybe it's something that they're just not seeing how I had utilized it, or maybe the way I was utilizing it wasn't as, smooth as it could be. So I'd always go through those little moments of, not wanting to hear anything bad about what I've been working with or created, when really that wasn't necessarily what was happening.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things about growing an agency or a team in any way is like being able to let them touch things and then trusting them to do a good job and then not getting your feelings hurt when they do a really good job and it's better than you or
Right,
or
right.
they say, hey, the way you were doing it isn't the best way, right? Like you were
Right,
saying with your systems and they give you bad feedback. Nothing's bad, but you get like, oh well, like you get a little hurt.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, oh well, it worked okay for me. And but it's just one of those things. And because you put all of your heart and soul into
Yes.
this business, I mean, it takes everything from you, and then you're inviting these people in, and it almost feels like, having this family relationship, yet it's business, so it's like this very odd spot to be in, to be the person who's like, hey, this is my business and I do have to protect its integrity. And I also need to let my team know why we do it the way we do. And, but that they are absolutely allowed to have feedback, to, talk to me about things that aren't working. And I will always be there to help figure it out with them. So
And I think
it's,
that really helps the culture of the team because they want to be there. They feel like someone's
yeah,
backing them up. Like you can say, no, 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 thank you for your feedback, but there really is a reason we do it this way. And you can still be the leader there, but having them come in and say, oh, all right, I feel like I've been heard.
right.
Like that's a
Yes.
big thing. I mean, from when I've worked on teams, when you're completely ignored and no one wants to listen to you and then everything breaks. we,
Yeah.
we were just dealing with a client not that long ago and I'm like, you should have listened to us. But when you feel heard, it's a wonderful way to be on a team. So I love
Yeah.
that.
And for me, teams and collaborations, and even with coaching, like doing group stuff, for me is so important because you get so much from it. But you have to be open-minded and you have to be accepting to receive it. And I think that's a big part of that as well. And it takes a good team leader to allow that to happen and not allow anybody to feel like they're left out or not being heard.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot. That's a hard thing in leadership to like give that up, to not be like, I'm always right, but to like listen to other people once in a
Yes.
while. You know what I mean? That can be hard because especially when you go from being a solo person on this thing and then inviting other people in, it can be hard to switch over to be more collaborative.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, so you've created this team, um, and then you've gone through this journey. So tell me more about your journey to going from just the real estate to more coaching. Is this a life thing
Yeah.
that you've gone through this kind of journey so that you want to help other people? Like, how did you get to the coaching part?
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because I really call it kind of my lifetime, like a lifetime in the making, because um, for me, having my own traumas when I was younger, and then having to learn how to find my self-worth and my confidence, and be able to kind of get out of this anxiety and depression bubble and learn how to really cope with things. I knew I was going to need somebody to help me to get to where I am now. Sometimes I can't even imagine how I got to here and how I feel as good as I feel now and confident in my businesses and what I'm doing. So going through that journey and really doing the work and really loving the process of it was something I knew I needed to help others find that way. And it's really about wanting people who to be able to find that happiness and that self-love and being able to take their uniqueness and really own it, in a way to forward themselves on their journey. And I think it's so dear to my heart because I had so many wonderful people in my life that helped me through the process. And I think we need more of that, but it's in a way that people are allowing you to find your own answers and your own strength. So there's a way of doing it. So I think this was really just a whole lifetime full of, I always knew I was like, I want other people to feel this way.
I think that's so interesting. I feel like the people that come to be coaches feel like they have figured out a thing and they want to tell people. Like,
Yeah.
I figured this out. Like, I'm better about something and I want to help someone else. And I love that kind of like that spirit of giving because you know, like you've been at a terrible place or you didn't know how to do something and then you've learned how to do it. And I kind of feel like that's the same way with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you just want to, you're like, no, no, wait, I can help you get through this. And I love that.
Yeah. And the way that, when when you're talking to a coaching client and you're asking those powerful questions and they're, you know, seeing something different for the first time is, and you can see it in their eyes and they just light up, and it's the most amazing feeling, because you're like, you know, look what you've done, like look how you've recognized your own magnificence, and you know, the way that you've been seeing that, you can now make changes, and it's being able to give them that hope and possibility at the end of the day to take it on to the next day. And as long as they have that, that's really what's powerful.
Yes. And I think that's so wonderful to watch. I've had coaches help me where I like they asked me a question and I was almost stunned to silence, which doesn't happen very often. And you know what I mean? Like when you're like, oh my God. And you like sit there for a second. And I think those are the wonderful moments because what I find hard about coaching, but business coaching, not life coaching, but I find it hard as an ops person in my brain that I can't check things off. If someone comes to me and they say, I have these goals, and then we do some work, a lot of those goals change. So
Right.
when 3 months later, those goals aren't the goals anymore because we've kind of worked out, no, we don't want a bigger team, or yes, we do. Like all the things change. Do you
Yeah.
find that happens when you start getting into the work, that things change? And how do you deal with that? Because I have a hard time not being able to go, check, we accomplished these things.
I think a big thing that I've learned over time is being open to allowing those shifts to happen and trusting that there's a reason that it is. I think that really helps me have the confidence of going forward towards goals, knowing that if they do change, there's a reason for it. You know, for example, for my coaching business, I had this goal set to have my website done by a certain time. And then it didn't happen because of life. And I also was thinking of doing a couple things differently on it. So I had to kind of get over the fact that I didn't meet that goal on time, and it was okay. And then I ended up having a call with one of my friends who's also a life coach, and we were talking about it, and she actually gave me the one that this website system that she uses that really offered all the things that I really wanted to incorporate and wasn't sure how to, like having courses or workshops available for people, which was really important to me because you can only reach people, so many people one-on-one during the week. So this was something, you know, I wanted to be able to provide, to share with, you know, on a bigger scale. And I was like, I told her, I was like, this is exactly why I didn't publish my website a few days ago, because this was what I was supposed to hear and this is the way I was supposed to go. So I find things happen like that a lot. And, you know, you have to really notice it when it happens and keep it as kind of a reminder, you know, and so when something happens or it goes off course, be like, maybe there's a reason why. And maybe I'm not going to learn why right now, but I will down the road. So I think having that mindset allows me to be more comfortable changing the way I need to, or making quick changes or to my goals, or even just to the day, to my checklist. Because I'm just like you. I love checking things off, and I love meeting my goals when I can. However, I've had a lot of wonderful opportunities that come my way because of happenstance. So I just keep that kind of mindset that it'll be okay, and I just go with what the flow is and what I can control, and then the things I can't, I just go with.
Yeah, I feel like that's hard.
Yeah.
I think, well, I'm getting much better about it. I think going between being an operations person and a coach sometimes can be hard. And that's why I'm wondering, because you and I are very similar in that way. Like we have this
Mhm.
very like done service-based business. Like, I'm going to take care of your stuff. It's going to run really well. And then we have this other side that's coaching, which is much more fluid. You know what I mean? Like, it's much more,
Yeah.
let's go. Like, the whole point of coaching is to get in there and see what's happening instead of being told what to do, right? It's not a course where you're saying, do these 10 things. It's much more learning about things. So
Right.
how have you had to do any kind of mindset work to be able to switch between the two? Do you find that clients want to be told what to do or have a checklist, or are they along for that journey as well?
That was something that took time because you're a fixer a lot of the times in your regular business because you have to be. You're there. People expect you to be able to help them fix things. Whereas in coaching, I try not to fix people or give them direct advice without, going over that with them first, because it's really about guiding them to their own answers, because that's the impact that they need for themselves. So it definitely is two very different hats. And I think because I have such a natural knack for the organization and real estate stuff, because I've been in that mindset just naturally my whole life, because that's what I've just done for work and with school. And then with, you know, coaching, I think it really comes from my heart. And it's really something that can connect with on a whole different level. So when I'm in my coaching chair, I really am there for the other person, and that's what's driving me. And I also try to make sure I have separate times, separate days that I'm focusing more on these things, and creating boundaries around that too is really important.
Yeah, because I think it's hard to switch between. It's like when you're
Mm-hmm.
working on something and then you get switch back and forth between different kinds of work. I think it's much more that mindset of, okay, I'm putting this hat on now. I'm going to do this.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which that took me a while to learn. And I would be very stressed out trying to do all the things. And it's hard when you're trying to figure that mindset. So that's why I was wondering if you were having the same thing, because obviously you've been working on mindset stuff, and you've been coaching on this. So yes, I find that so interesting to be able to, like, I don't know if I'm just dating myself now, downshifting. No one drives a stick anymore. Downshifting and putting it into a different gear. So tell me about, I know that you help realtors, real estate agents, whatever, in TC Created. How did you get them? I'm kind of curious. This was a question when I was looking at everything today. They're realtors. They work on commissions. How do you come into this? Like, are you hired by them? Are you hired by the brokerage? Like, I've worked with a lot of salesmen in my life, and they usually don't want help, although they don't want to do paperwork either. So
Yeah. Well, that's the big part of it for us. That's really the selling point, is that, hey, we want you to be able to have the space you need to be who you want to be. Um, we're going to take on what we do best, which is your transactional tasks, and really keep that on track for you, so you don't have to worry about, um, the making sure you're meeting deadlines, or that you have all the HOA documents you need, or responding to the title company and the lender all the time. Their email boxes fill up like crazy, so they don't have to worry about missing anything like that. So we're able to keep that, and we're an extension of them. We're part of their team. But basically what they do is they hire us. When I first started it, I was thankfully able to have two agents come with me, or hire me, to work independently from the brokerage that I had been working at. So it was nice to already start off with a couple clients. And then from there, I used social media because I didn't have a ton of money to put into advertising, and I knew they were on social media. So that's really where I started. And a big part of it to me was connecting with the agents that I knew I wanted to work with. So I'd find them, I'd kind of, watch their activities, see what they're doing. And then I just start commenting on their stories or their um, posts, and really until they knew who I was and they felt comfortable talking with me. And then I'd invite them to a virtual coffee, and go over what I do. And typically that was how I started and got a lot of agents that we still work with, even to today. So I was actually surprised how nice it worked out that way. But it again just proved to me that connecting with people in a way that's important to them is what really gives you that relationship. So, but yes, they hire us, and really it's just a per transaction basis. So if they just wanted us to work on one transaction, we could, but typically they'll bring us on and we'll work on all of their transactions. So each agent has their own transaction coordinator. We have them split up amongst Colorado regions, and then the they'll just work, and then we get paid basically when they get paid. So our fee is either taken out of their commission at closing, and the title company sends us the check, or they just pay it through an online invoice. So once the transaction closes, then we get our fee for that. But
Got it. Yeah, I was fascinated
yeah,
by that.
yeah,
Because it's such a transactional business. And I was like, well, how does it all work? So thank you for that. And I'm sure once they have that help and they're like, oh, you've taken care of
yes,
everything, then they're like, I'm never doing it again.
yeah. Some I've made disbelievers believers for sure.
You have.
And really, I think it's like what we were talking about at the beginning, is that it is hard to relinquish that control to somebody and invite somebody into your world with your clients. And we totally get that. And um, but delegating can really help make you stand out even more. So it's really that being able to let go so that you can have that freedom. And because they're trusting us with that, we just want to make sure that we're giving them quality work. And I think that's really what separates us from some of the others in the business.
I agree. Well, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So for your coaching, I know you work with real estate agents in TC Creative, but for coaching, who are you looking to help? Do you have a certain client in mind when you're coaching?
Yeah, I think it's women, for sure. I definitely love working with. I always have. I think it has a special place in my heart. I think that women have a lot on their plate, and I think a lot of it takes away their self-worth. And so repairing that is important to me, because I truly believe women are a huge part of our society, and really just kind of that backbone, that strong thing that holds us all up. So I think women, in their 30s, 40s are a great age, because I think that's a time when we're really starting to question where we are, question where we want to be. So it's a lot about people who are open to receiving the help, and are open and are looking really forward to working the process to find that better life that they're looking for. And when I say better life, it's really just feeling good inside, because your life can really stay the same, but it's about how you're feeling can really make it look very different, and feel really different. And I think that's what the importance is. And then if you do have goals, and it's finding what can you practice, what blockages are happening, what patterns are keeping you from moving forward towards those goals. So I think, that age group, 30s, 40s is really when you still have so much time to figure out what you want to do. And it's just a great time to be working on yourself. But anybody who of any age or any sex, I'm open to everyone who's ready to really dive deep, find what's important to them, and really discuss how they want to move forward, how they want to feel, and get them to that place and have tools that last a lifetime.
I love it. I've been doing so much mindset work, and obviously because I'm in a business, but even just in work and life, and it really does change the way you see a situation. It can be the worst thing ever, or it can be this great opportunity. So I love that work, and I think it's so important.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I'm so happy you were here today, Jessica. And can you tell everyone where they can find you? And we'll put all this in the show notes too.
Fantastic. Yes. The best place to find me is my Instagram, which is at Jessica Armstrong Coaching. If that's what you're looking for, if anybody is looking for, about the TC Created, my website's www.tccreated.com, and my Facebook and Instagram pages are at TC Created. So you can visit those as well. And my coaching website will be up very shortly, and that'll be announced on my Instagram, which is again Jessica Armstrong Coaching. So they can send me a DM there, and I will be happy to connect.
Wonderful. Well, we will put all of that stuff in the show notes. You can click on that at ReynoldsOBM.com, and you will find Jessica there. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Kelly. I really appreciated it.
All right. And I will see everyone else next week. Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you have an agency or want to create one, come join my Facebook community, Get Your Agency Together, where we talk all the things growing and scaling your agency. For show notes and more info on all the things, head over to ReynoldsOBM.com. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at ReynoldsOBM. And finally, if you enjoy this podcast, I would love for you to give us a review on iTunes.